Hey guys, what's up? I'm here at RideNow Powersports in Austin, Texas. Here's all the used bikes out here in front. There's a couple used bikes right there behind me. Boom, boom, boom. That I'm gonna take for a test ride a Kawasaki ZX-14R, a Ninja Beast, quarter-mile champ. So I'm gonna check that out, see what kind of power that thing has. I'm on the city roads here, so I'm not gonna be able to really open it up too much. But I'm gonna check it out. Riding position, all that kind of stuff. So stick with me and I'll see you in a bit. All right, so we've got two Kawasaki Ninja ZX-14Rs here. This one here is a 2018. It's got some carbon fiber slip-ons there. And this one's a 2023. So this one's kind of a black and reddish highlights, gray with the orange. They both have about 1,700 miles on them each, I believe. I'll throw that up on the screen, but so you see right next here we have a Hayabusa Suzuki. Let's see what this one is. This is a 2025, 17,000. So the Hayabusa and the 14R are basically rivals. They're both super high powered, kind of quarter mile type of rocket ships, if you will. I've ridden the Hayabusa before, not this particular one, but when Suzuki was here, I took that for a test ride, and that was a whole lot of fun. So let's go over some of the major stats before I jump on this. This is an inline 4 liquid cooled engine. It's 1,441 cc's, 200 horsepower, 114 foot-pounds of torque. It's a 6-speed manual transmission, 593 pounds, 5.8 gallons for the fuel tank, and the seat height is 31.5, and it has dual power modes, low power, full power, and 3 traction control modes. Okay, so let's turn this power on. So hopefully you can see this. So the two important things here is power and traction control. So power is now set for L, which is low, and it supposedly cuts the power by about 75%. So we just use the switch gear here to get that thing to flash and then hit up to F. And then that's F here is full power. So we're gonna start off in L. I just want to see what it's like in low power mode. We'll set the traction control to 3. So start there, and then along the journey I'll switch it to full power and just see if I can, notice how much a difference there is. So first impression sitting on this, so you're very kind of leaned over in a sporty position, feet get tucked up. So just sitting here on the bike, it is very sporty. We'll have to see how that changes once we start rolling. I don't feel as much pressure on my wrist though as I do on some other sport bikes where you're just sitting still. So I'm imagining that this will get a little bit more comfortable once we start rolling. But this bike was introduced in 2012, and it hasn't really been updated since, so it's kind of very old school feeling. But all the parts here, everything I'm looking at looks good quality. Doesn't look too plasticky or anything like that. And I believe this bike has been discontinued though for the 2026 year. But they may be revamping it and releasing it in 27 or 28. Who knows? Because this bike, the major competition is the Hayabusa, and the Hayabusa of course is still around. So maybe Kawasaki is pulling this off and going to reintroduce something similar in the future to replace this bike, but who knows. For now, we've got this. Right now it's got 2 of them, a 2023 and a 2018, which is 2018 is the one I'm on, and it has those carbon fiber slip-ons. So while we're waiting for our chaperone, let's just start this up and see what it sounds like. Wow, that sounds nice. I think those slip-ons make a big difference. You all set?
You know the route, right? Down
Just going around.
Yeah.
All right. So we're in low power mode. But it already feels like it has a lot of power. The seating position is pretty comfortable though, now that we're moving along. Does not have a quick shifter. I'm assuming maybe the newer versions came with it or had the option, I'm not sure. So I'm clutching this the whole time. Yeah, even in low power mode, this has more power than most motorcycles. Yeah, I don't feel any real weight on my wrist at all, even though I'm really leaned over. My leg position is really nice. I like how my legs hug the tank. It's a very nice fit. You're kind of tucked up and all that, but not as bad as a full-on sport bike like an R1 or something like that. I could see myself riding this for quite a while. Yeah, so this bike has, I think, 190 something horsepower. I'll put that up on the screen. Got a nice deep throaty sound to it, especially with these slip-ons. Alright, so let's put this in full power mode. Yeah, this really sounds nice. The rearview mirrors are adequate. I can see. I can see. They don't seem to be vibrating a whole lot. The bike in general doesn't really vibrate a whole lot. I don't feel any vibrations really in the handlebars, just a tiny bit. And most inline fours and six-cylinder bikes are typically a lot more stable and not so vibratey like a twin. Speedometer goes up to 180 or 190. Sorry. I'm gonna check that. I'm gonna check out online and put it on the screen what the top speed of this bike is. I'm guessing it's probably close to 180, 190. So I'm 5'8", 30-inch inseam. I'm pretty much flat-footing this bike, so it's not a very tall bike. The Hayabusa is very similar in that way, that they're both not really tall seats like some of the other sport bikes, like a S1000RR or any of the other sport bikes, inline fours, leader bikes. They're usually pretty tall. very much like the Hayabusa, the riding modes are pretty pronounced. You can really tell the difference now that I'm on full power. I have full access to the throttle. Just a little bit of a quarter turn, not even a quarter turn, an eighth of a turn, and it just wants to take off. Gosh, there's all kinds of power on this bike. And I gotta say, it's very comfortable. I could definitely ride this for a while. You know, coming from my RS, my BMW RS, that does not sound that wonderful. Having an inline 4 with the sport bike sound is pretty cool. Yeah, because this doesn't have a quick shifter, I'm really trying to do my best with the clutch shifting and holding on at the same time, because it really wants to take off and leave me behind. Yeah, the power on this is nuts. I'm just barely touching the throttle and I'm taking off. And it feels so planted to the ground. I really like the feel of this bike. I've just become lazy though with my bike because I've got the quick shifter. I kind of rely on the quick shifter a lot, especially when I'm getting a little happy with the throttle. It's so much easier to bang through gears when you have a quick shifter. This one with all the power, and I'm not completely familiar with the bike yet, and then having to use the clutch is a little bit of a learning curve for me, because I am lazy. Yeah, I'd really like to take this out to kind of the rural area where we've got some country roads with big sweepers and big straightaways, just to kind of lay into this thing and see what it feels like. But unfortunately around here there's not a whole lot of that. The suspension's pretty good. This road is not extremely bumpy or anything like that, so we're not really having to test the suspension very much. So it's comfortable though. Okay, here we are at the end of the trip. Sorry for those that really wanted to see this get opened up, but really not the ability to do that here. Okay, well that was fun. So here's a little side-by-side comparison. Here's my RS. Here's the ZX-14R. Now, I mean, this is not a fair comparison at all in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this bike here is just a beast of a horsepower, quarter-mile killer. This is a much more comfortable, torquey sport tourer. Got my SW Motec bags, my comfortable Sergeant seat. I have to say, those that exhaust from Two Brothers, those sound really good. And it's got a little bit beefy 190 for a rear tire. And then for the power modes, this has two power modes. The Hayabusa that I rode, you can check out that video. I'll put a link down below. That has three power modes, A, B, and C. This just has low power and full power, L and F. And they're very distinct. F was basically just the tiniest little twist like this, and you're like taking off for Mars. But I really enjoyed the sound. That's the one thing my friend over here doesn't have. With the tune and the full titanium cat delete, I've got it to sound as good as it can, but it just kind of sounds like an angry motocross bike. So, sorry. I love my RS though. I really do. Great bike. So that concludes my test ride. It was a very comfortable bike. Once we got rolling, like I said, I could easily ride that for an hour or more without any problems. Didn't have a lot of wrist pressure, even though those handlebars look like they're really low. And that back cowl thing comes off, and you can have a passenger. From what I understand, it does have passenger pegs, so that does come off. Color scheme is interesting. I think it's an interesting bike because I really don't see them very often when I go to bike meetups or anything like that. It is a bike you have to be very mindful of and be careful, because it just has so much power. It can get out of control real fast. Okay guys, again, that's it. Thanks a bunch for joining me, and thanks RideNow Powersports for the ride and all that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed, please do so now. I appreciate it. Thumbs up, share it, comment down below if you own one of these bikes. Let me know what your thoughts are and how much you like it, and little pros and cons, if you will. That'd be very helpful. But that's it. Thanks a bunch. Take care. See you next time. Later.